Have you ever wondered why living things are called living things? Living things are called living things all because they possess some characteristics that qualifies them to be living things. And characteristics of living things can also be referred to as the biology of living things. The acronym for the characteristics of living things can either be Mr. Ninja D or Mr. Ninja Car. So what does the acronym stand for? Mr. Ninja D stands for movement, respiration, nutrition, irritability, growth, excretion, reproduction, and death. While the acronym for Mr. Ninja Car stands for movement, respiration, nutrition, irritability, growth, excretion, reproduction, competition, adaptation, and lifespan. So all these, they are the characteristics that can be seen in any object or organism that qualifies them to be living things. So if any object that you see do not possess these characteristics, they are regarded as non-living things. The first characteristics we'll be talking of is movement. Every organism, both plants and animals, they move from one place to the other. They change their location. For the fact that an organism, either plant or animal, they change their location or they change their body position, it is referred to as movement. So we talk about various forms by which organism moves. Organism can move by walking, they can move by running, they can move by flying, they can also move by creeping, they can also move by swimming, and they can move by hopping. Then we move on to respiration. Every living thing, they respire. In the aspect of respiration, that talks about breathing in and breathing out. Altogether, that talks about what? Breathing in and breathing out. So every organism, both plants and animal, they breathe in oxygen and they breathe out carbon dioxide. So the oxygen that they breathe in, it combines with the food they eat to produce energy, and the energy that is being produced, it is used in order to perform the daily activities of the organism, and it also produces carbon dioxide. So this carbon dioxide, it is what that is being breathed out by both what? Plants and animal. So if an object that you see do not breathe in and breathe out, such organism or such object is regarded as non-living things. Altogether, then we move on to the next one, which is nutrition. In the aspect of nutrition, this is how organism feeds. Now, organism feed by two modes, which is called the mode of nutrition. The two modes is either autotrophic mode of nutrition or heterotrophic mode of nutrition. In the aspect of the autotrophic mode of nutrition, these are organisms that produce their own food by themselves through the process of photosynthesis. So every organism that produce their own food by themselves through the process of photosynthesis, those organisms are called autotrophs, and the mode of nutrition is called autotrophic mode of nutrition. And where do such organisms derive their energy from? They derive their energy from the sunlight, which is the ultimate source of energy. An example of organisms that perform autotrophic mode of nutrition are the what? The plants. Then secondly, we also have the heterotrophic mode of nutrition. These are organisms that depends directly on the already produced food by what? By the green plants. And such organisms, they are called heterotrophs. So in this aspect of the heterotrophic mode of nutrition, they depend on the food that the autotrophs, which is the green plant, they've already manufactured by themselves. An example of autotrophs, they are what? Animals. All forms of animal that is seen in existence, both the vertebrates and the invertebrates, they are regarded as heterotrophs. And what are vertebrates? Vertebrates are animals with backbone, and invertebrates are animals without backbone. Then we move on to irritability. In the aspect of irritability, it is defined as immediate response to a stimulus. So in the aspect of stimulus, stimulus can either be internal or external. So in this aspect of response to stimulus, take for instance, you accidentally touch an hot object. Something tells you that you have touched an hot object. So that is what? The characteristics of living things, which is what? Irritability. But take for instance, you take a stone and you put the stone behind a very hot object. The stone will not feel anything. Why? Because the stone does not have the characteristics of living things termed irritability. Or take for instance, someone pinched you with a sharp object, you immediately feel the pain. That's irritability. Also, plants also respond to stimulus by what? By touch, by light, by chemicals. That's the aspect of what? Irritability. Response to stimuli. And the next one we talk about is growth. Growth occurs both in plant and animal as an increase in size. So in this aspect of growth, growth is a common feature of all living organisms. And what is the definition of growth? Growth can be defined as an irreversible increase in size and complexity of what? Of an organism. Remember, when we are born, we are not born as big, as tall as we are. The characteristics of living things are still on us, and that characteristics is what? Is growth. So both plants and animals, they grow. Next we talk about is excretion. In the aspect of excretion, every living organism has a particular amount of waste product that is in the body system. So this waste product must be released out, must be removed out from the body. Why? Because these waste products are very poisonous and toxic to the body. So if they are being retained in the body, it can damage the body of organisms, either plants or animals. So every organism, they possess these characteristics of excretion, and excretory product in animals can be urine, sweat, nitrogenous waste products, and in plants we also have various waste products. And the next one we talk here is reproduction. The purpose for reproduction is for continuity of what? Of living organism, both plants and animals. Now, what is reproduction? This is the process whereby organisms give rise or give birth to young ones of the same species. So the reason why it's of the same species is human being will give birth to human being. Plant will give birth to plant of its kind. Dogs will give birth to dogs of its kind. So that is why it is termed giving rise or producing new young ones of the same species. That is the aspect of reproduction. And next we have reproduction in animals. Animals, they reproduce either by laying eggs or by giving birth to their young ones alive. Only mammals give birth to their young ones alive. All other type of animals, they lay eggs. And also in the reproduction in seeds emanate from a big plant whereby it regenerates to form another plant. That is the aspect of plant reproduction or reproduction in plants. Then we talk about lifespan. Lifespan can also be regarded as what? As death. So this is a definite period of existence of living organisms. The period by which they are born to the period whereby they die, that is what? Their lifespan. So every organism, both plant and animal, they must surely die. Only non-living things do not die. But living things, either plants or animals, they have a definite period for their existence. The day they were born and the day they die. And the next one we talk about is adaptation. Every organism, every living organism, every living things, they need to survive in an environment. So for them to survive in that environment, they must be able to fit in to that environment. The ability of an organism to fit into an environment is termed adaptation. Irrespective of the change in weather, irrespective of the change in environment, organisms also possess either structural or behavioral characteristics that makes them to be suitable or to be fitted for such environments. And we have various adaptive features in both plants and animals that makes them to adapt or that make them to be fitted to such an environment. Chameleon, they possess adaptive features of what? Of camouflage. A butterfly possesses the adaptive features of mimicry. A lion possesses the adaptive features of what? Of sand. As we can name it all along. Now we talk about competition. In the aspect of competition, every organism competes for available resource, and the major reason of competition is the resource that is available for organism in that environment. It is very limited. That's why in such an environment, such an organism will surely fight for what? For the limited resources that is available. So all living organisms, they compete for what? For available resources. Then we move on to the differences between plants and animals. What are the differences that you can see in what? In plants and animals. In the aspect of their growth in plants, it is only occur at the root and the shoot region, while growth in animals, they are what? They are definite. That is, it occurs at every part of the body. As the head is growing, the leg is growing, the hand is also growing, the eyes is growing at the same time. So that is what one of the differences that exist between plants and animals. And animals, they have a well-developed leg or a well-developed respiratory system, unlike in plants. So these are the differences that exist between plants and animals. And lastly, we shall be looking at examples of living things and non-living things. As it has been said that living things can either be plants or animals. And animals like human being, dog, goats, elephants, lion, as many as you can mention. An example of non-living things are things that do not have life. Example, they will talk about books, pencil, dress, stone, rock, computer, chair, vehicle, searchlight, as many as you can mention. Now we've come to the end of the lesson under the characteristics of living things. Here we've discussed about the characteristics of living things, that they possess some characteristics which are Mr. Ninja D or Mr. Ninja Carl. And we also talked about the differences between plants and animals. And also we've discussed about the examples of living things and non-living things. And under this lesson, you can be able to differentiate clearly any object that you see as either is a living thing or non-living thing. So any organism or any object that possesses those characteristics, they are called living things. I hope you've learned a lot from this lesson, and thank you for listening. Till we see in our next class. Bye.